At the same time, I can't help looking into his mesmerizing green eyes. I can't handle seeing my own fear and anger reflected in his eyes any longer. His stare intensifies, and he's looking at me, and I mean really looking at me, as if willing our connection to fix all of this. I swallow a few times before forcing myself to look away. No, River. I can't talk to you when we're like this. I know we will both say things we don't mean. We need time to figure our anger out before we sit down and have a conversation. He tries to yank me flesh to his body. His voice shakes with fury. I don't need time to figure anything out. I get it. You left me a note. You ran here the first chance you got to see him. Was it a happy reunion, or were things just getting started? I've never heard this kind of furious tone from him before, and without any control, I pull back and slap him. I told you, I'm not having this conversation right now. Listen to yourself. Stomping over to my door, I get in, turn the key, and start to shake uncontrollably. I watch him through the window as he stands there in shock with his hand on his face. I want to get out of the car and say I'm sorry. I want to throw my arms around his neck and kiss him. I want him to hold me forever, but I'm stuck in the moment, suspended between right and wrong, what should be and shouldn't be. I know he's questioning things, questioning Ben's reappearance, and how it will affect us. We just need to calm down. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what's happening. Ben is a stranger to me. He did things I never imagined my Ben would do. And River kept something huge from me. It's not even what he kept secret that bothers me. It's the simple fact that he kept anything from me in the first place. When Amazing Grace suddenly plays on my phone, I look down, startled that my phone is lying on the console, plugged into the charger, but not surprised. River must have put it in here when he got to Grace's. I shut my eyes and exhale a deep breath. I am wishing this day could start over as I listen to the same ringtone that started me on the path to where I am right now. I look toward the house and Grace stands there, her phone in hand. I silence my phone, turn it off, and drive away. I turn the radio on, hoping to drown out my thoughts with music. When I hear Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run, I blast it. I've never been one for confrontation, and what just happened felt more like a war. I can't face the truth right now. The truth that the two men I trusted most in my life lied to me. Not knowing where to go, I drive toward the rising sun.
Chapter 6. Remember When. Ben's Journal. Yesterday didn't go exactly as I had planned. I can't believe how much I let that prick get under my skin. I have this feeling that I know him and I can't seem to shake it. Sleep proved impossible, so I headed to the beach, still thinking about what he said and what it meant. Just as I was about to walk over the old bridge, Dahlia pulled into the driveway. When I saw her, I thought she was coming back to me, that she had missed me as much as I had missed her. I waited for her to get out of the car and come running to me, but instead she approached cautiously. I saw the trepidation in her eyes, and I hoped she wasn't scared. I wanted to take her in my arms and assure her it was me, tell her I was back for her, but I didn't. She felt too distant, too far removed. Even though I was stoked she was still wearing my bracelet, seeing someone else's ring on her finger enraged me. My whole flight back home, all I could think about was putting my ring back on her finger, marrying her, and finally having a family together. I figured she must have taken my ring off when I heard from Caleb that she was with some jackass. My suspicions were confirmed when I asked Mom if she knew anything about my ring, and she told me she had tucked it away. Fuck. That hurt. Doll didn't even keep it. I could see she was afraid to let me touch her, maybe afraid of what she might feel. So maybe there's a chance for us. I think we just need more time to get things back to how they used to be between us. I thought when I finally got to talk to her for real, not just in the journal I was keeping for her, she'd listen and be reasonable. But she went off on me instead. Her rage intensified with every fucking wrong word I said, and she didn't give me a chance to explain. She might have left me on the beach, begging her to not walk out of my life. But I don't care. Yeah, she walked away from me, but in the end, despite the shitty conversation, I'm glad she came to see me. And she came alone. Although as soon as I told her the prick knew about her attack, she not only mentally checked out, she left. I'll keep trying. I've needed her since the day I left. I wished I'd have told her that. I actually wish I had taken her with me. Maybe that was what she needed to hear. I did run after her, but stopped when I reached the end of the bridge. He was there looking all kinds of smug and arrogant. Who the fuck wears jeans and boots to the beach? But Doll, she was pissed. She stormed right up to him, and fuck did she go off. From the looks of it, there are cracks in their relationship. Things he doesn't know or understand about her like I do. He didn't tell her what he knew. I know better. She's pissed as fuck at him, and getting her to forgive him isn't going to be easy. That's exactly what I need, for them to be apart. Time for her to remember us and forget them. If she breaks up with him like she did with me that one time, I'll have plenty of time to get her back. Fuck, she may never get back together with him. She broke up with me for what she thought was only the start of something with someone else, and I let her believe that. I had to. I couldn't tell her the truth. I knew if she had found out, we'd be over forever. She would never forgive me. Fuck. I still can't forgive myself. I made one slip in judgment, but I would never do that to her again. Not even if it served right in front of me. The one time ate away at me. Each time I thought about it, I hated myself for being weak, but in all honesty, I enjoyed every minute while it happened. For some reason, that copper-haired girl got my blood pumping. I didn't want to know anything about her. I didn't even know her last name. In fact, every time she came on to me, I ran away. How fucking pathetic. Why couldn't I just tell her to back off? For some reason, I couldn't. And I didn't the night I was shit-faced and she cornered me at the after-party. She did her usual come on, and I did my usual and hightailed it away from her, but she followed. Trevor hadn't come back to school yet, and the room was empty, so I headed there. I went into the bathroom and splashed water on my face. When I looked in the mirror, there she was, taking her clothes off. Yeah, her body was amazing, and the way she offered it to me was fucking hot, but there was more. It was something in her eyes that drew me in. I felt like she got me. I couldn't stop myself, but I know I should never have fucked her. It could have destroyed my relationship with Doll. Almost did. We stayed locked up in Trevor's empty suite, and I didn't screw her once, but over and over again all night long. She was kinky as fuck, and we kept at it until dawn. I knew it was wrong. Why am I even still thinking about her? Maybe it was her eyes? Maybe it was the way she blew me? Maybe it was the mind-blowing sex? I have no fucking idea. But later when that girl emailed me asking to meet, I was determined to stay away. Fuck, I thought maybe she was going to tell Doll or tell me she had VD. Eventually I agreed when she said it was really important. In the end, I never met her, because Doll came home early. That was the last I heard from her, so I figured she was trying to get my attention and finally gave up. Until she started calling again months later. By then, Doll had seen the email, and I knew better than to even talk to her. I wasn't taking any chances. I still, to this day, can't believe I strayed from my girl. I'd like to blame it on being young and immature, because really, of all the things that I wasn't a cheater. Or at least I wasn't until that one night. Hell, I was used to being pursued. I shouldn't have let her break me. Women have chased me my whole life, some relentlessly, but I never cared. Not once before her, and not once after her. Shit, back then I lived in a frat house, and there was never a shortage of girls offering to have a good time. I always refused. I loved my girl. I wasn't taking the chance of losing her.
Chapter 7. Your Call. It's still early in the morning when I find myself at the beach. I park a few miles from the house I used to share with Ben and remove my Converse so I can feel the grainy sand that usually comforts me. But once again, it doesn't. As I walk along the shore, the tide rolls in and splashes of cold water prickle my skin. So many thoughts are running through my head. First and foremost, what the hell just happened? I'm drawn to the water and wade in further and further until I'm almost knee-deep. The salty air blows on my face, and I take deep, calming breaths, wishing away the pain and turmoil I can't seem to handle. As tears trickle down my cheeks, the salty scent of the sea air seeps into my nose. I stop and sit down in the cold water, now barely below my chin. Then I dive under and never want to surface. Life seems so tranquil down here. When I come back up, I make my way to the sand and just lay there. The beach is very quiet. Birds chirp peacefully as they soar overhead. I close my eyes, willing myself to stop crying. I can't even figure out who I'm crying for. Ben? River? Myself? I must have drifted off because suddenly I can hear small children playing nearby and feel the hot sun beating down on me. I get up and wipe as much sand off me as I can and then make my way back to the car. Looking behind me, I see the footprints I left vanishing as people jog by without a care in the world. And I wish I had that same carefree feeling, the feeling I had just last week. I grab my sneakers and sweater at the beach entrance, the only dry things I have. I take my keys out of my Converse and shove them in my jeans pocket. I pull my sweater around me with shaky hands, try to shake the sand from my hair, and hurry to the car, my head swimming with the unknown. I break into a sprint to get there, my bare feet crushing against the stones beneath me, but I don't even care. I'm almost gasping when I reach for my keys. Leaning my head back against the steering wheel, I try to figure out what to do, where to go. Glancing over at my phone, I just want to hear his voice, so I turn it on and check my messages. There are 4. Grace, Serena, Ari, and an unknown caller, but none from River. I'm not surprised. I'm mad as hell at him for not telling me what he knew, for making me doubt his trust. But he was just as mad at me for going to see Ben. I've never seen him like that. I've never seen me like that. I listen to the messages, Grace telling me to turn around and talk this out, Serena asking if I'm all right and telling me she's here for me if I need to talk, Ari yelling into the phone to call her now, and the unknown caller, Ben, begging me to come back. Ben, the voice I hadn't heard in so long until yesterday. The voice of the man I loved unconditionally. The voice of the man whom I had always trusted. My eyes are stinging and my thoughts are even more of a jumbled mess than they were before I got to the beach. I stare blankly at the traffic as it rushes by on the now busy Pacific Coast Highway. My heart thumps out of my chest as I turn the engine on and jerk into the lane of traffic almost haphazardly. I skid to a quick stop at the first traffic light. I am driving way too fast, but my head is swimming with memories. Cars are honking for me to move as the light turns green. I accelerate as fast as I can and head to the only place that comes to mind right now. When I pull up in front of the yellow house with the white picket fence, the for sale sign still occupies the front yard. The place is neglected, in need of some tender loving care, but still, right now, it is my refuge. Needing dry clothes, I call the only person I can. She answers immediately and forsakes the niceties. "Where the hell are you, and what's going on?" she yells into the phone. In a much calmer tone, she quickly adds, "Are you okay, Dahlia?" She obviously already knows Ben is back, and I take one deep breath and contemplate what to say. "Ari, I need some help. I'm at my house here in Laguna. Can you please bring me some dry clothes?" I'm surprised when all she says is, "Sure I can. I can be there in less than 20 minutes. Will you be okay until I get there? Grace called me this morning and told me everything, Dahlia. She told me Ben's alive." "Ari, let's talk when you get here, okay?" "Okay, Dahlia. I'll be there as soon as I can. I love you." I hang up the phone without another word and toss it into the console, open my door, and walk up the path to the house. A house I lived in with Ben, a house I mourned him in, and a house where I was close to giving up when life was breathed back into me by River. Now everything seems distorted, confused. When you trust someone and they break that trust, what does it mean? That's what I have to figure out. That's why I'm here. So I can think. As I unlock the front door, I hear the wind chimes that used to welcome me home and enter the almost empty house. I see the few pieces of furniture left, our oversized sofa where it has always been, the coffee table, and the 2 chairs. The rug is gone, the lamps were broken during the break-in that destroyed nearly everything, and anything left was moved into Grace's attic or to River's house. Shivering, I pull my knees up on one of the chairs and just sit there, trying not to think about Ben. But that's all I can focus on, remembering my life with him. Before I know it, I hear pounding on the front door and Ari is yelling, "Dahlia, are you okay? Why is the door locked?" I hop off the chair, not even remembering locking the door. As I walk, I glance at the old key-shaped holder Caleb rehung after the break-in, and Ben's keys are still hanging there. For some reason, they make me feel uneasy. As soon as I unlock the door, Ari swings it open, hurrying past the threshold with coffees and a bag in one hand. She looks almost as disheveled as me, in sweatpants, a t-shirt, her hair in a ponytail, and yoga shoes. I'm surprised because she never goes out looking so unput together. Grabbing the coffee tray from her hand, I blurt, "What the hell happened to you?" "Me?" She eyes me up and down once before continuing. "What happened to me?" She drops the bag to the ground and seems unable to talk for a few seconds. "What happened to you? Where have you been? Why are you soaking wet and covered in sand?" Her questions continue, but I tune them out, really wanting to sip the hot coffee and strip off these wet clothes. Realizing I don't want to talk about any of it, I almost wish I didn't call her. She takes the tray from my hand and sets it on the floor, then immediately pulls me to her and hugs me as hard as she can. We both stand there, me almost a head taller than her, and I can't help but cry. She pulls back and looks at me. "I've been worried sick about you. Grace called me at 6 this morning assuming you were headed to my house. Then, as the hours ticked by and you didn't show up, we all started to worry." She wipes the tears from my face before wiping her own. When she brushes the sand from her clothes, I can't help but laugh. "Sorry, I didn't mean to get you dirty." We both laugh and the Ari I know is back, the take charge Ari. "Where have you... You know what? Let's get you changed first. You're shivering and we can talk after." She starts leading me down the hall to my bathroom like I don't know where I'm going, and I follow her like I need to be led. Once we reach the bathroom, she pulls out some sweatpants and a sweatshirt from the bag and lays them on the counter as she starts to unbutton the shirt I have on. River's shirt. Gently placing my hands over hers, I tell her, "I can do it. I don't need help." Pushing my hands away, she says, "Just let me do it. Let me help you." I move my hands and she continues to unbutton the wet shirt. A moment of comfortable silence passes. Then she says in a soft, concerned tone, "I'm sorry, Dahlia. I really am." I know she isn't apologizing for helping me get undressed. Suddenly it hits me. The last time she did this was when she came to see me the night Ben was killed. I remember now. She removed my black cocktail dress that night because I couldn't. Then she tossed it on the corner chair, where it stayed for a long time. "Ari, this isn't like then." I pause and motion to where the chair in my bedroom used to sit. I'm not going to fall apart like I did before. Sure, I'm confused, but I know the situation is completely different. Pulling my arms out of the shirt, I point to the 2 items on the counter and ask, "Is that all you brought? No underwear?" Staring at me a little too long, she says, "Dahlia, I had no idea why I was bringing you clothes. I didn't think to grab a bra or a pair of panties. Why are you soaking wet anyway?" I needed to escape all the chaos, so I decided to go for a swim. You know swimming always clears my mind. "In your clothes, Dahlia? Really?" "Yes, in my clothes. You know that is not normal, right?" I shrug. She shakes her head and takes the shirt from me that I just stripped off. I unhook my bra and throw it in the sink. She stares wide-eyed at the huge purple bruise that seems to have morphed from my side to the front and back of my torso. I'm okay, Ari. Really, I am. I'm not going to fall off the deep end. I slip my arms into her USC sweatshirt and pull it over my head. She grabs the hem and pulls it down for me, and I let her. Then she pulls my hair out of the hood. I think we need to get those tangles out. I'm going to grab a brush out of my purse. I left it in the car. I'll be right back. Will you be okay? Yeah, of course. And then as she leaves the room, I call after her. Hey, you don't have any toilet paper in your car, do you? She laughs a little and says, No, but I have Starbucks napkins. I'll bring you some. And with that, she leaves me in the bathroom to change out of my now partially dried and stiffened jeans. Her sweatpants are way too short on me, and soon I'm just staring at myself in the mirror. Memories of the girl who lost her fiancé are reflected back to me. I clutch the counter and close my eyes. I am not that same girl. I am much stronger. I will not fall back into a depressed state. What happened this morning cannot happen again. This I know. Jumping into the ocean to escape all the madness was simply a momentary lapse in judgment. Right? Opening my eyes, I take a deep breath and exit the bathroom. I glance over at the bed in the room I never wanted to be in after Ben died and try not to think of the pain and suffering his death caused me. And for what? Back in the entryway, I grab the drinks and go sit in one of the chairs, blocking out all thoughts of Ben. Ari comes in a few minutes later. Thank you so much for this. I raise my large paper cup in the air. Yeah, well, I thought you might need some, and I grabbed myself a tea while I was at it. When she says the word tea, I think about River and the first morning we spent together, when I wasn't sure if he was a coffee or tea drinker. How relieved I was that he drank coffee. She comes over to me, and the memory dissipates as she tries to brush the knots out of my hair but can't, so just ends up twirling it into a messy bun and securing it with the elastic she removed from her wrist. Always prepared. I try to be, she says, grabbing her cup and sitting in the chair next to me. She looks me up and down. You know, we can go to my place and you can take a shower. No, I really just want to stay here. She nods her head and we both sit quietly, sipping our drinks until I break the silence. What else did Grace tell you about Ben, other than he's alive? I start to speak the truth, but the words sound strange, not real, and I can't even complete the sentence. All she told me was that Ben was involved in something dangerous and had to leave for his safety, and she pauses before adding, and for yours, Dahlia. But she didn't feel comfortable discussing anything else, and I didn't push her. Frowning, I say, I can see why. It's a crazy story, and honestly really hard to believe. Why? Do you think he's lying to you? No, I don't. It was just a lot to process, and then he said something that set me off, and I kind of exploded. What did he say? He told me he made the choice to leave. What do you mean he had a choice? He got himself into a bad situation, and instead of talking about it and us facing it together, he left. Dahlia, did you stay to let him finish? I tried, Ari, I did, but I couldn't listen to him anymore. You know what I went through when he died, and to hear he made a choice. Can you at least try to forgive him, so you can move past this and get some closure? No, I'm not going to forgive him for what he did. I can't. I'm unable to distinguish whether what I just said annoys her or saddens her. But from the slight downward curl of her lip, I'd have to go with saddens. We stare at each other for a long while, and I know she's being cautious with her words. Do you think you should sit down and listen to everything? I don't know what he did, but I know he loved you, and I'm sure the choice wasn't easy. Not able to hide my irritation, I tell her, Don't you get it, Ari? That's just it. Talking to him again won't change anything. We share silence for a few more moments. She raises an eyebrow. I know it won't, but I think it will help you better understand why he did what he did. Wow, She understands more than I thought she did. I pause for a minute trying to understand why she's pleading Ben's case. When I think I've figured it out, my face flames with skepticism and disbelief. You don't think I'm going to just jump out of my relationship with River and back into Ben's arms? Do you, Ari? Because it doesn't work that way. Her eyes flash to mine. She sets her tea down and walks over and kneels in front of me, grabbing my hands. In a low voice, she says, "Of course not. I know it doesn't work that way, and no one expects that at all." Then she squeezes my hands tightly. "I know you love River. I even set you up to meet him to begin with, because I knew how you felt about him. We've talked about that. This isn't about choosing one guy over the other. It's about listening to and maybe even forgiving a man you've known your whole life. Not ruling it out. That's all. I'm not saying this for him, but for you. For your own peace of mind. I know you, Dahlia. This will drive you crazy." That wasn't at all what I'd expected to hear. And although I understand her intentions, I know forgiveness isn't in me right now. She sighs and then shrugs. Maybe try looking at the situation from his point of view. That's all. Just think about it. I nod. I'll try. But that doesn't mean I'm going to forgive him. With that, she stands up and goes to sit back in her chair. Looking down at the coffee cup still in my hand, I swirl it around. River and I got into a fight after I saw Ben this morning. She says nothing. Fuck me, she knows that too. I can tell immediately because she stands back up and paces the room, avoiding my intense stare at all costs. "Ari, what do you know?" She doesn't answer, and I stand up and walk over to her. "Ari, tell me now." "Dahlia, I think I should let River explain." "Well, River isn't here right now, and he isn't talking to me anyway. So how about you explain?" "Fuck," she says, and she never says fuck, so I know it's bad. She walks to the window and pulls her phone out of her pocket, then dials a number. "Serena, are you almost here?" she says, and after a few moments, she hangs up. I gape at her. "What's going on here? You called Serena already? Why?" "Dahlia, please calm down. We didn't want to tell you right away about the attack because—" I cut her off. "Did you always know Ben was alive? Did you know this whole time?" "Jesus, Dahlia, no! No, I knew nothing about that, I swear. God, I would never have let you go through that if I had known. None of us would have. What I meant was we knew who attacked you, but that's all." I study her face, trying to understand. "We? You mean all of you knew? Not just River?" "Dahlia, please let River explain this." "No, Ari. I want you to explain the we to me now." She sighs as if resigning herself to a fate worse than death as she slumps back in the chair and picks up her cup. She takes a few drawn-out sips before talking. "The night before you were attacked, Grace was notified that Ben's shooter was released. Caleb found him and chased him out of your house. He was worried that guy would come after you. Grace tried to call you, Serena tried to call you, and Caleb tried to call you. They all left you messages, but you never called them back. Serena tried again in the morning, and River answered. They told him everything that had been going on. But it was too late by then." She stops for a few seconds as I continue to glare at her in total and complete shock. "Go on. So why not tell me? I don't understand." "Dahlia, we remembered how you were when Ben died, and none of us wanted to bring that pain back on you. Grace wanted to tell you in person, so she asked River to wait before saying anything. Then you two decided to go get married and not tell anyone. I questioned River's decision to not tell you first, but in the end, I decided I'd rather see you happy than risk what might happen if we dredged up those sad memories." She stands back up and walks over to me. I try to absorb all this information. Is there anyone I can trust? Wanting to put the pieces together, I run out the door to my car and grab my phone from the console. Back in the house, I glance at the screen and see 3 missed calls. I immediately scroll through my voice messages. There are none from 5 days ago. River must have deleted them. I shake my head and throw my phone across the room. I can hear the sound of destruction as the screen shatters, but I don't care. I don't need it. He hasn't even called me, but unknown caller has called another 3 times. I sink to the ground and pull my knees to my chest. I can't believe he hasn't even called me since our argument this morning. Ari comes to sit next to me and looks at me questioningly. Who? Ben? No, not Ben. I told you I don't want to fucking talk to him. River. River hasn't called me. As I'm speaking, I hear the door open and look over to the foyer. Serena stands there with a bag of Chinese takeout in one hand and a bottle of vodka in the other. Maybe you should call him. You're the one who slapped him and left him at Mom's, she says when she walks into the room and sets down the bag on the coffee table. How do you know that? I know I'm staring at her, but I can't help it. Dahlia, Mom saw the whole thing. She saw you and River at your car and saw you drive away. She called you to come back home, but you wouldn't answer. Serena, so much has happened in the last day. I'm doing the best I can. I'm just not ready to talk about it yet. I get it, Dahlia, but what you don't understand is that by avoiding the issues, you're just causing a bigger rift between everybody. You need to stop running away and face what's right in front of you. You might actually be surprised by the outcome. I drop my head into my hands. I don't even know how to respond because there are so many issues. It's not that I'm running. It's that my faith in Ben is shattered, and talking to River seemed pointless at the time. We were both just too mad. Serena takes my hand and pulls me over to the sofa to sit next to her. We're facing each other as she says, Dahlia, I know you don't want to talk about this, but you need to know what happened this morning. I have enough to think about. I don't need to hear more. I start to stand up and Serena reaches for me. Wait, you need to hear this. After you left this morning, Ben and River were yelling at each other in the driveway. River lunged at Ben and they started fighting. It took Mom screaming at them for them to stop. Oh my God, I just never even thought about them seeing each other, let alone what would happen if they did. Serena gives me a look and scolds me. You would have known if you'd have answered your goddamn phone. I'm sorry, but I just don't know what to do here. With Grace, River, Ben. I'm so angry, so upset and confused. I really don't want to talk about them right now. Ari walks over to where my phone lays broken on the floor and picks it up. Well, you don't have to worry about them calling you because you no longer have a phone. To avoid tears, I mumble, well, at least I won't be checking for calls that never come. I stand up and head for the table. Serena jumps up, grabs my arm, and shouts so I can't ignore her. Dahlia, grow up. You slapped him and left him standing there. I turn to her in shock and scream, I know I did. Well, what did you expect? Then taking a breath, she says in exasperation, Dahlia, you need to get your shit together. I know I shouldn't have left him there. I get it. But I also know we both needed time to calm down. Serena rolls her eyes at me and says, Your decision. Well, my decision right now is to eat this Chinese food and have a drink. Then I'll worry about what to do next. Serena stands there shaking her head, and Ari just looks at me not knowing what to do with me at this point. And I get it, because frankly, I don't know what to do with myself either. So I do the only thing I can right now. I grab the bottle of vodka. Ripping the plastic off, I unscrew the top and take a long chug. Then I wipe my mouth with my hand as I endure the burning sensation traveling down my throat. Serena stands there with her hands on her hips. She's completely no nonsense, just like her brother. But I try to set that thought aside. Fuck, Dahlia. I have cranberry juice and limes in the car. Could you wait a minute? No, I can't. I don't care about mixers right now. I just want to stop thinking about all this madness. Lifting the bottle in the air, I make a toast. Here's to making dumb decisions and not always being able to own up to them. With that, I burst out laughing and then start crying. I take one more sip from the bottle. Both of my best friends come over. Ari grabs the bottle and says, "Here's to never being able to keep a boyfriend because you're just too damn picky." I raise my hand as if holding a glass and say, "Here's to not being picky, but to waiting for Mr. Right." After she downs a healthy dose of vodka, she hands the bottle to Serena. Serena takes it and holds it in front of her. "Here's to being a shitty parent. May your sons never get into the kind of trouble that you can't help them out of." What? I look at Serena and know this isn't the time to ask, but I wonder what's going on with Trent. I need to comfort her, so I raise my imaginary glass again and say, "Here's to moms who do everything they can to help their children." It's now that I realize these women have their own issues, and I should have been there to help them like they've helped me. How do I not even know what's bothering them? I grab the bottle and make another toast. Here's to always listening to your friends and understanding their issues. Once all of our feelings are out there, we spend the rest of the afternoon eating Chinese and drinking what's left of the 750-milliliter bottle of vodka before we all pass out. The three of us are careful only to talk about Serena and Ari's lives and never say the name Ben or River.
Chapter 8. Into the Nothing. Ben's Journal. I spent the morning pressing a bag of ice to my lip, nursing my wound and my pride, too. I didn't expect that pussy to go all Rambo on me. Maybe I should have taken it more seriously. Either way, he got a few good ones in, but so did I. I'm confident that pretty boy's at least sporting one black eye. I knew Doll wouldn't go straight to him after the argument I witnessed them have. That's not her M.O. Whenever we argued, we both always needed space to calm down before discussing issues. I thought she would be at the beach, so I wasn't surprised when I drove by our house and saw her car there. She must have been thinking of me and all the years we shared together. That's evident just by where she ended up. I stood on the front porch for at least 15 minutes trying to figure out if I should go in. Instead, I decided to revert to the way I won her back the only time we ever broke up. I grabbed a piece of paper from Mom's car and left her a note. I know she'll know it's from me the minute she sees it. Hopefully, it will be enough to convince her to call me. I don't care if I have to leave 1,000,000 notes. If that's what it takes, I will. She has to spend time with me. It's the only way I can get her to see I'm the only one for her.
Chapter 9. Blurry. Hours later, I awaken, sore, aching, and sprawled out on the oversized sofa with Ari as my pillow and Serena as my blanket. The overhead lights are on, but do nothing to help me focus. It's pitch black outside and the street lights are on, so it has to be late. I try to lift my head, but the thudding sensation that kicks up at the movement makes my pulse race and my stomach turn. I gag down the bile inching its way up my throat, but all that does is make the taste in my mouth even worse. Looking around at the Chinese takeout containers, I find an open water bottle. As I sit up to drink it, I try not to disturb Ari or Serena and scoot carefully off the couch. My head is pounding, but my heart feels like it has lost its beat. The rage I felt toward River has dissipated, and I'm left with the awareness that we need to talk about what happened this morning. Yes, I was mad at him for not telling me what he knew. But Grace asked him not to. I get it. And I'm ready to talk now. I just hope he is. When I walk through the house, I can't help picturing how I was in the years after Ben died. All alone. It breaks my heart to think about how isolated and alone I felt. How my grief overpowered any feelings of hope. I wish I could go back and wipe away those years and the toll they took on me, but I can't. Opening the front door to leave, I notice Ben's keys hanging on the hook. Why had I never gotten rid of them? I shake my head and walk out into the coolness of the night. When I approach my car, I see there's a folded piece of paper on the windshield, and I know instantly it's from Ben. The note is folded the same way as all the other notes he had ever left me, and he left an abundance of them during our short 3-month breakup, when I thought he might be cheating. I open the note and read the short but to-the-point message. I'm sorry. I miss you. I love you. Let me talk to you. Ben. Bitterness rushes through me. Is he kidding? I am not going to forgive him. He made his choice. He left me alone. And now that I'm happy, he thinks we can just go back to the way we were? Well, we can't. And even if we could, I don't want to. I love River, and that's something I would never change. In fact, I know what I have to do. I have to cut my ties with him. I rip the bottom half of his note and shove the other half inside the kangaroo pocket of my sweatshirt. Opening the car door, I search for a pen and then write a brief note to Serena telling her to make sure Ben knows this house is now his. It hasn't been ours since he chose to leave. He can't have me, but he can have our house. I walk back into the house and lay the note on the entryway floor and anchor Ben's keys on it. As I leave, I hear the wind chimes, and I know this is the last time I will be walking out the door of this house. It's not my home anymore. It's not our home anymore. It's simply Ben's. My home is in LA, and that is where I'm heading. I spend the drive home trying to figure out the semantics of not telling versus lying, of trust versus forgiveness. I know River's lie of omission wasn't out of malice or spite, but out of his overwhelming need to protect me. Ben's lie wrecked me, changed me, and left me alone. River's omission did none of those things. So maybe I can look past this. I think I can, actually, and I just hope I can still trust him. Why is facing our issues so much harder than escaping? Xander's Mercedes is parked close to the steps leading to the front door when I pull into the driveway. It's 1 a.m, and I'm surprised he's still here. He's usually so uptight about getting up early for work. After parking the car in the garage, I walk up the stairs and notice a huge hole in the wall next to the door. When I see the key we keep above the door frame laying on the ground, I wonder what happened. The door is unlocked, and as I enter the kitchen, I can see Xander passed out on the couch, his shoes still on, his arms slung over his head, and a half-empty bottle of Patron on the side table. His shirt is untucked, and his skin is exposed. Grabbing my concert t-shirt quilt from the hall closet, I pull it close to me for a moment, and then head back to the living room. Covering him with the blanket, I notice a hint of a tattoo down the side of his torso I never knew he had. I set the liquor bottle on the counter and turn the lights off before heading to the bedroom. I'm a little apprehensive about seeing River. We haven't talked all day. Since we got together, we've never gone this long without talking. I'm not even sure anymore who was actually angrier, me at him for not telling me he knew it was Ben's shooter that attacked me, or him at me for having gone to see Ben. When I see that he's not in the bedroom, I'm a little surprised. Everything is how I left it, just messier. My wedding dress lies flat on my hope chest with the garter and pearl earrings nestled on top of it. I put everything there so I could easily slip back into the dress and get ready again. Originally, I thought we'd be returning from Grace's later that afternoon. I hang it in my closet, having no idea when we will be getting married. The thought makes me a bit uneasy, so I seek solace by walking over the glass doors. I look out into the night, at the beautiful view of the Hollywood sign that I love so much. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it represents hope. As I stand here looking out, a fleck of light catches my eye and I see him immediately. He's sitting in a chair down by the pool, just staring into the darkness. Opening the door, I pause to admire him. His long, lean body, his always messy hair, and I wonder if I really want to address our issues right now. Taking a deep breath, I walk the many steps down to where he's sitting, and I know he must hear my reproach. He sits there, one leg propped over his knee, leaning back and sipping a beer. "You decided to come home. I wasn't sure you were going to," he says without even a glance in my direction. "River, of course I came home. Of course I did. I just needed time to calm down and figure things out. Get my head together." Funny. I'm not sure "of course" can be assumed in any conversation we have from now on. Taking another sip of his beer, he adds, "And what do you mean you needed to figure things out? You needed to get your head together. I thought we did those things together, but I guess I was wrong." "River, I was mad and..." I start to explain but stop. He won't even look at me, and I know I need to get his attention before we continue talking. "You can't finish your thoughts. You could earlier. Should I help you? You're mad at me for not telling you, but I'm not going to apologize for that, Dahlia. I had my reasons, but the next time you decide to slap me after meeting with your ex-fiancé, maybe you could at least stick around to listen to what I have to say." "I'm sorry that I slapped you. I shouldn't have done that. But I trusted you and you kept something important from me. How can I trust you won't mislead me again?" Shaking his head, he hisses, "Come on, Dahlia. You know you can trust me. I never lied to you." "I didn't say you lied. I said you didn't tell me." "But you also allowed me to believe I was attacked by some random stranger." "I know Grace asked you not to tell me who he was, but you really should have." His stare is almost unbearable. He shakes his head and it infuriates me, but he says nothing, so I keep talking. "Come on, River. You even hired extra security because you were worried that he would still come after me. I guess you went through all that trouble for nothing since they caught him. I'm safe now." "Maybe you're right, but I'm not sure it even matters anymore." "Of course it matters. Why would you say that?" "Stop saying 'of course.' I'm done with this conversation." Since I've never really experienced him being angry at me, I'm unsure of how to proceed. Should I force him to talk about it? What will happen if I do? Am I ready to find out? I'm not sure about any of that. But what I do know is that River needs to understand that I love him. He needs to know that even though we haven't worked out our issues, he matters to me. As tension fills the air between us, I watch him, still unsure about what to do. After a few more seconds of unbearable silence, I close the distance separating us and stand directly in front of him. Avoiding eye contact, he leans forward, setting all four legs of the chair down. It kills me to be standing here like this, unable to touch him. I want him to talk to me. I have to break the silence. So I ask, "Do you know your brother's passed out on the couch?" "Yeah, well, he did his best to keep up with me," he says, setting his beer bottle down next to at least a dozen others. Cocking his head to the side, he just barely glances at me. "So, where does all this leave us?" I answer in complete honesty. "The same place we were yesterday. I know we both have issues to work out, but I'm not sure talking about them anymore tonight is a good idea." Then I grab his hand and pull him out of the chair. He comes willingly. A bag of ice falls to the ground and I notice his other hand is wrapped in a kitchen towel. I swipe his hair from his forehead and try to look at him, into his eyes, but they are unfocused and the skin around one is slightly discolored. I cup his face and he closes his eyes. I run my fingers around the outline of his swollen bruise. "Does it hurt?" "Nah, not anymore," he shrugs. I lift his hand and can see that it's also swollen and bruised. God, River, is it broken? He laughs slightly before saying, "You know, I have no fucking idea, but it hurts like hell. Xander had me move my fingers, and when I did, he told me to suck it up." I carefully caress his hand and bring it to my mouth, softly kissing it. You can't go after Ben every time you see him. Fighting with him isn't going to change anything. Might not change anything, but makes me feel a hell of a lot better. His body tenses, and I know this still isn't the time to discuss Ben, but it is the right time to tell him how I feel. I run my fingertips along his cheek, silently apologizing for slapping him before saying it. I really am so sorry. I hope he knows I mean it for more than just the slap. Leaning into him, I take his other hand and bring both to my mouth as I tell him what I've wanted him to know since I drove away this morning. River, I love you. Ben being alive doesn't change that. You know that, right? Exhaling, he grabs my face and looks directly into my eyes. Despite his drunken state, his eyes seem more focused and his words are clear. I want to believe your love is only for me, that your lips are mine, that your kisses are meant for me, that your body belongs to me. His arms move to my waist and tighten around me, and he presses his hard body against mine. But when you leave me to see him, it's hard to know for sure. My breath quickens in anticipation because I know if my words can't put his mind at ease, erase his worries, or ease his fears, my body can. It always responds to him. It's not forced. It's natural. No one can ever make me feel the way he does. He knows this. I just need to remind him. He shuts his eyes tightly as if he's trying to read my mind, but he doesn't have to. I know if he tries hard enough, he can feel my love. Opening his eyes, he stares back at me, as if waiting for me to respond to him. But I need to show him. So I crush my lips against his. And I'm surprised when he opens his mouth hungrily and allows me complete access. I wrap my arms around his neck and rub flush against him. I want to be one with him, and I know he wants the same. His kisses start off hesitant, but when I push my hips into his, they become more aggressive. He runs his mouth down my neck to the bare spot that Aries' sweatshirt doesn't cover. Gasping, I push him back slightly, feeling guilty for using my body to explain my feelings when I know we should discuss what happened. Maybe we should finish talking? His lips find my neck again, and at first he merely growls in response. I don't think talking is what we need to do right now. I drop my head back and let him find his way. How can I not? My body responds on its own. It's his. My anger completely evaporates at his touch. Leaving no bare place on my body where his mouth hasn't touched, he looks at me in a way that leaves me breathless, wanting him, wanting more. He steps back and strips his shirt off before bunching the bottom of mine and doing the same. Not wanting to lose his touch, I lean into him. I need to feel his bare skin against mine before the sweatshirt is even over my head. He swiftly tosses it to the ground and snakes his arm around my waist, pulling me to him, thrusting his hips into me. He moves his mouth to my chest, and when I run my hands down the front of his jeans, I hear his sharp intake of breath. We are both much more aggressive than we have ever been. I moan as he pulls and tugs on first one nipple, then the other. I hastily unzip his pants and shove a hand into them. His head drops back, but he hastily brings it back to mine and kisses me again. Taking my hair down, he tries to run his fingers through my tangled strands, and I know he can feel the sand in it. He stops immediately and looks at me questioningly. Did you go to the beach again today after I saw you? I nod and swallow, wondering why he's asking, but I answer truthfully. Yes, that's where I went when I left Grace's. Why would you go back there? Did you see him again? He hisses. No, of course I didn't go see Ben again. I went to the beach because it brings me peace. I needed to figure things out. If you would have called or texted me, you would have known. I swallow back my hurt. Like I said, of course is no longer assumed. And what exactly were you figuring out? Nothing. Everything. You, me, Ben. I don't even know. I notice he doesn't address not calling me, but I let it go. I didn't realize we needed figuring out. He seethes. We don't. That's not what I meant. He goes back to sit in his chair. He scrubs his face with his hands before picking up his nearly empty beer bottle and swallowing the rest of it down. But he never breaks his unnerving eye contact with me. As he continues to stare at me in a way I haven't seen before, I decide I need my old river back before we can keep talking. I don't want to let him slip away, but I don't know what to do. Averting his intense stare, my eyes dart to the stillness of the water, and I know that this is where I can find peace. So I strip off my pants and dive into the pool, wanting to wash my body of the sand and bottled up emotion. Tranquility shoots through me as my skin meets the coolness of the water. Surfacing, I swim to the side and gesture to him to join me. He sits there, his pants unzipped, and shakes his head no. Splashing water in his direction, I goad him. What, are you too drunk to swim? Because there sure as shit are a lot of empty beer bottles next to you. He crosses his arms and smirks at me, and I can tell he's trying not to laugh. A few more seconds pass. When I splash him again, his expression changes, and this time he smiles. I could swim laps around you with all these bottles tied around my waist. Prove it. Come on. Don't be chicken shit. I bet you tomorrow's coffee run you can't beat me in your condition. In fact, I'll even throw in a hold your breath contest. I figure even though he always swims faster and can hold his breath longer, I doubt he can best me at either now. And honestly, I don't care if I win or lose. I just want him back. I'll take that bet, and I'll have a double espresso, but it doesn't mean I'm not still mad as hell at you. Without another word, he stumbles slightly as he removes his jeans and boxers, then dives in. He swims to the opposite end of the pool and grabs the ledge. I stay where I am, giving him distance. So, how's this contest going to go? He shrugs his shoulders. Hold your breath first works for me. Okay, why not? Let's do it. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, I say, and then plunge underwater. When I come up, I'm not even sure he went under. Guess I win, I say, gasping a little for air. He nods but says nothing, his stare more intense with every passing second. Okay, what's next? Laps? First one to the end wins? Sure, he answers. And with that, I say go and just take off. I feel him swimming near me as we pass each other somewhere in the middle of the pool. When I finish my laps, I look for him, but he's not swimming. He's standing next to me, watching me. He does his best to keep a straight face, but my exhaustion must be apparent. Through the glow of the moonlight, I catch his expression. Stop smirking. It's not funny. It kind of is, he says as he hoists himself up and out of the pool. I study his perfect naked body, and he catches me when he turns to extend his hand. Helping me up, his grip doesn't falter. I eye him as he watches me steadily, a slight hint of amusement in his face. Once I have both feet back on the ground, he takes a step back. He drops his head, and I can tell he's trying to contain his laughter. Looking up, he grins and with a hint of smugness says, You look tired. I frown. You cheated. That's a matter of opinion. I was the first one to your end of the pool. I finished my lap. You didn't say we had to return. Whatever. I silently dare him to go on, but he doesn't. He just stands there and his closeness makes my pulse race. He's taking me in, and I can tell. I take a step closer to him. I see his chest rising and falling a little more rapidly. I brace my hands on his shoulders. What do you want? He whispers. You. I want your lips on mine. I want you to kiss me. Maybe it was the touch. Maybe it was my answer. But whatever the reason, he swiftly picks me up. I wrap my legs around his waist and pull him closer to me. I tilt my head back and his lips attach to my neck. They are warm and soft. When they meet my mouth, it falls open to let him in.